Hello and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. Habits. That is the subject of this week's episode. Why we break habits and how to make ones that stick. That's what the title says. But let's just really talk about habits for a second. Because habits are the foundation of everything that we do. Specifically, because they're habits, the small things we do on repeat that shape our energy, our focus, our confidence, and ultimately our results. But we've all got good habits and bad habits, right? We've all got habits that are helping us get to the things we want to get to, but we've probably got some habits that aren't helping us get there. If you want to feel more in control of your time, if you want to grow your business, if you want to take care of yourself better, or simply feel more in control day to day, it is habits that get you there. Not one-off bursts of motivation, not all or nothing plans, not, great big game-changing visions. It's habits. The thing is, most of us feel like we're pretty good at starting habits, at starting new things, but we're not so great at sticking with them. And fundamentally, habits are needed if you want to start something new that needs you to stick with it, short, medium, or long term, to achieve the compound effect and get the result you want. So if you are someone that feels that you're really good at starting new things, not so great at sticking at it, and often are saying to yourselves, why can't I just be more consistent? This episode is for you. I don't think we talk about habits this way. We talk about bad habits a lot, right? We'll say, oh, it's just a really bad habit of mine. We very rarely talk about the good habits we've got. But habits are literally the systems and processes you have for your life. You've probably been trying to build habits, routines might be a better word for it, the way that people on the internet tell you to. The way that you read somewhere was really good, but not necessarily in the way that actually works for you and your real life. So I want to today just really get you thinking about why you might be breaking your habits, how to build habits, routines, processes for your life that work in a way that actually works for you, your lifestyle, and the woman that you're trying to become. Now, I'm using the word habits, but as I've just said there a couple of times, habits are basically the systems, the processes, the routines that you have for your life, for your lifestyle, for your business. Habits are the things that we do on repeat, and half the time we don't even realise we're doing them, the good ones and the not so good ones. The challenge is that habits, really true habits, are the repeatable behaviours, actions, tasks, systems, processes. But very often, habits break down. And it's not because we don't want the habit. It's not because we're not motivated enough. It's not because we don't want what it will give us. It's usually, and I've used these words, systems and processes. The reason that most of us don't stick with habits is because the system behind the habit isn't working. Now, you might be like, what is she talking about? You'll know, if you've listened to me for a while, if you're in my world, if you've ever worked with me, if you're in the She is Courageous Collective, you'll know that, yes, I am a business mindset coach. I love working with business owners and helping them make more money in their business, get their business more streamlined, make their business work for them. But I also know at the heart of all of it is not that they don't know what to do or how to make more money or how to make their business work for them. It's mindset underneath all of it. And I talk about mindset in a really practical way. Habits are about mindset too. Now, the truth is that habits are meant to be hard to break. That's the point, right? A true habit is hard to break because a true habit is essentially your brain working on autopilot. Your brain creates habits to be automatic, to free up decision-making energy. So once a habit is fully wired in, your brain wants to keep running that script. Even if you decide actually you want to change a habit or change a way you do things. So on the flip side of that, building new habits means your brain has to work harder at first. It takes real energy, attention, intention to build new habits, because what you are doing is fundamentally changing the route that your brain has always taken. And if a habit doesn't feel immediately rewarding, your brain and you will question whether it's worth the effort. And most habits are not immediately rewarding. Therein lies the challenge. So what happens is we get stuck. We start something new. And this is like, if you think about starting anything new for a goal that you're working on, fundamentally you have to build a new habit. If you want to grow your business and you know that the key to doing that is showing up more online, that means you need to build a habit which creates the ability to show up more online. The habit might be in the creation of the content, the habit might be the physical showing up online. If you want to work on your well-being, you need to create a new habit that is doing something you're currently not doing in order for you to have better well-being than you currently do. Habits are at the core of everything. So building new habits means that you are asking yourself, your brain, to work on something it hasn't been doing in the past. And if we don't get the immediate reward, which, let's not forget, 2026, we all do love an immediate result, don't we? Your brain starts to question whether it's worth the effort, and then you get stuck and you keep saying to yourself, I know what I should do, I know what I need to do, but I just don't do it. Now, none of that is because you're not capable. But a lot of the time, what it is because the current habit is doing something for you. Even if it's not giving you what you're saying you want, it's doing something for you. I often say to people, none of us do anything that doesn't have a benefit to us. The challenge is that sometimes what we do is counterintuitive, i.e. goes against what we really want or say we really want. That's called self-sabotage. When it comes to habits, you already have a set of current habits. Some of them will be working really well for you. They will be giving you the results you want. Some of your current habits will not be working for you. They will not be giving you the results you want. They will be holding you back from the things that you say you want to achieve, to be, to do. So when you're trying to create new habits, the problem is your current habit is doing something for you, even if that's keeping you safe, comfortable, even if it's just familiarity. And if you don't have a system that supports you, you will default back to what's familiar. Because our brains are wired for efficiency, for safety. Without a clear path and an absolute dopamine hit along the way, we just choose the path of least resistance. Now, maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, the habit loop. This is the real reason that habits either stick or don't. Okay, so the habit loop is this: cue, craving, response, reward. So the cue is your trigger. It might be a time of day, it might be a feeling, it might be a location, or even another behaviour. But all habits have a cue. All habits also have a craving, i.e. what you are trying to get from the habit. So it's what you're actually seeking. It's not the habit itself, it's the feeling behind it. It's the comfort, the control, the escape, the connection. So you've got the cue and then you've got a craving, and then you have what's called the response. So this is the thing you do to get the craving met. That's the habit in action. And then you've got your reward. So the payoff, the dopamine hit, the thing that you are craving, you get. So you start a habit because you want to feel something or be something or have something. The reward is when you get that, or at least you start to get the feeling of it. Now, if that loop works, even if it's not the habit that you want, your brain says, well, that did the job, that's right, let's do that again. So let me give you a really simple example. I hear this from clients all the time because I have so many clients that say to me, what I really want to do is break this habit, and this is the one, okay? And I've probably been this person at times. How often do you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is reach for your phone? Now, that is a habit that you have built because you didn't always have a phone. You didn't always have a phone by your bed, okay? Unless maybe you did. Depends how young you are when you're listening to this episode. Because I'm 49, heading for 50, and I did not always have a phone. I remember the days when we didn't, but that's a whole other conversation. But you wake up, and so many people say this to me, I need to break this habit. I wake up and the first thing I do is reach for my phone. So the cue, let's talk about the habit loop. Cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue is waking up. I wake up, the first thing is, that's the trigger. I wake up and the first thing I do, because I have a habit. A habit has a loop. The cue is waking up. The first thing I do when I wake up is I pick up my phone. The craving could be connection, it could be stimulation, it could be a bit of distraction, it could be information. So my husband loves to pick up the phone. The first thing he likes to look at is the news. Not everybody goes straight to the social media, you know. So the cue is waking up. The craving is what you want from that action. The response is the action itself, the habit. So you scroll. Maybe you go to the news like Mr. B. Maybe you go to Instagram like Mrs. B. The reward is the dopamine hit. The hit of getting whatever it is you're seeking. So I get to see what everybody else is up to. I get a little bit of a window into everyone else's world, fills my cup, my little dopamine hit in the morning, and that loop is now reinforced. And so tomorrow, you'll do the same again. Until you don't. Until you decide, hang on a minute, I need to change that loop. What if I changed my cue and my craving or my response and my reward? Well, here's the bit that you do. You flip the response, because it's the habit that needs changing. So the same cue, I'm still going to wake up every single morning. I can't change that. I might still want to look for connection or information. But instead of scrolling, I can make a decision to do something differently. So maybe I open up my notes app or I pick up my journal, and instead of looking for connection with others, I look for connection with myself. And I write down one intention for the day, or I jot a win from yesterday. It doesn't matter. But the point is, it's the response that needs to shift. And then you get a different reward. But you might get a similar reward. So some of the keys to kind of making habits stick is actually not about the habit itself, but really looking at, what is it I'm trying to achieve? What is it I want to get as a reward? And we need to adjust the system. We need to adjust the process. Because the more that we understand this, the more we can interrupt the patterns that aren't serving us and start designing the ones that do. There are multiple ways to get connection. There are multiple ways to get information. There are multiple ways to. So we have to start really looking at, what is it I'm looking for from this habit? Or more importantly, what am I looking for that this habit might not actually be giving me? And if I start to get honest about that, maybe I can look at, okay, what would a better habit be? Now, there's another reason that habits don't stick. And I want to talk a little bit about identity. Now, this can be a really big subject, and I'm really conscious of that. But I just want to talk about it in the context of habits. Habits and identity come together because very often we set habits from the outside in. What on earth does she mean? She says. What I mean is, we set habits that are outcome based. So we say things like, I want to meditate every day. I want to post more. I want to get back into exercise. I want to eat more healthily. Lasting habits don't come from what you want to do. They come from who you want to be, who you believe you are. So actually, and this is what I was talking about with the cue, craving, response, reward, we do need to change the response, but we change it based on the craving and the reward. If you think about, I want to meditate every day, that's the response, that's the habit. And we set habits from a place of, well, I just need to meditate every day, rather than, actually, I want to be the kind of woman who protects her peace in the morning. I want to be the kind of woman who starts her day with a clear mind. I want to be the kind of woman who shares her voice online for good and adds value. I want to be, I am, more than I want to, I am a woman who moves her body because she values her health, she values her strength. We have to shift that into identity. We have to shift the habit, not from what we want to do, but who we want to be. This is just like when I get very passionate about the be, do, have model. So many people think if I just do something differently, then everything will be okay. But we won't do anything differently if we don't really tap into who are we trying to be? Who do we want to be? Habits aren't about ticking a box. They're about becoming the person that you want to become. So you need to act in alignment with the identity that you are trying to build, to create for you. So instead of asking yourself, what habit do I need? Actually ask yourself, Who do I want to become? Who am I becoming? What's one small thing that that version of me will do every day, every week? That's where consistency starts. And there's so much more motivation in that because it's taking you to the place that you want to be, the person you want to be, having the results you want to have. So let's just make this really practical for a second. How do you actually make habits that stick? So I've shared with you the habit look: cue, craving, response, reward. Yes, we need to change the response, but we need to focus on the craving and the reward. Okay, what is the craving that you're trying to fulfill? What's the reward you'll get? That's when you pick the right habits. But how do you make habits that then stick? So 3 tips for making habits that stick. First of all, make it small. I say this all the time, don't I? Honestly, the biggest mistake that people make in everything they do is they just try to go too big. And I've suddenly had that phrase from corporate: go big or go home. You know what? Not true. I mean, you can go big or go home in terms of the end vision, but in terms of the steps to get there, make it small. If it takes more than a couple of minutes to start a new habit, it's already too big. I promise you. These people that say, like, right, from Monday, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour every single day, and I don't do anything right now. How do you think that works out? You are not trying to change your entire life system overnight. What you are doing is showing yourself you can do this. Compound effect. Make it small. Start with a 2-minute shift in a habit. A really great way to anchor habits, to make them stick, is habit stacking. It's one of the easiest ways to embed a new habit. So what this is stacking a new habit onto something you already do. So for example, if you wake up in the morning and you can't function without your coffee, right? So if the first thing you do, maybe you don't pick up your phone straight away, the first thing you do is go to the kettle and make your coffee. Great. What you could do is decide that after you make your coffee, you will write your top 3 priorities for today. So what you could do to make this even easier is put your journal by the kettle. You could, so everybody, I hope, brushes their teeth in the morning. You could decide, right, when I brush my teeth, I'm going to do 60 seconds stretching. You could do it while you're brushing your teeth. Might get messy in the bathroom, but you see my point. Stack it with something you already do without thinking about. After you drop the kids off, listen to 10 minutes of a podcast. You're already doing the anchor activity, so you're not trying to carve out extra time or space. You're just sliding something into an existing routine or system. Now, the third tip is make it really obvious, really easy. Do anything you can to remove friction, anything you can to remove anything that makes it harder. What do I mean by that, right? This is where winnable habits come in. It has to feel easier to do the thing than to put it off. Make it easy for you. Lay the yoga mat out the night before, put your gym kit out for you. So you have to, honestly, so it's actually harder to look at that and say, I'm not going to go, than it is to just put that stuff on and get out the front door. Because that becomes, go back to the episode about self-trust, that becomes about keeping promises to yourself. Keep the journal on your desk. So one of the things I do is when I get up in the morning, I do have a little scroll, I'm not going to deny, I have my cup of tea. But what I do is then when I get up, and this has now become habit, I bring my Kindle from my bedside cabinet, I bring it to my desk and I put it on my desk, not because I'm going straight to my desk, and I put it right in the centre of my desk. And I go and do all my other things. And then what I do is when I come to my desk before I start work, the first thing I do is read from my Kindle. I read every single day, just for a few pages, of a self-development book, but it's here in front of me. I literally can't ignore it. It would take more effort and literally from a mindset perspective, more discipline to move that to one side and not do it than it does to look at it, pick it up and read it. So what can you do to remove the thinking that it takes to start? Because the less thinking you need to start, the more likely you are to follow through. And once you do it once, you're more likely to do it the second time and the third time. And that's when you start to feel the benefits of when you do these things. Your goal in this is to lower the barrier of entry. It's a win waiting to happen. Because like I say, every time you follow through on one small action on a new habit, you're not just getting something done, you're showing yourself, I can do this, I can build new habits, this is who I am now. This is who I'm becoming. So, You don't need to overhaul your entire life to make progress. In fact, you shouldn't, because that's why habits don't stick, because too many people try to make too many new habits. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need to wait for next week. You could do this today. You could do this tomorrow. You just need to think about one small, anchored, meaningful habit that you really want to make some progress on, that you know would be good for you. Something that makes sense for you. Something that aligns with who you want to become. So what's one habit that you're going to focus on this week? What's one habit that you want to start to embed this week? Make it small, make it real, make it doable. If this episode landed for you, hit follow, share it with a woman who needs to hear this today. If you've got a friend who you know is desperate to break her morning habit of scrolling, it's not just about the morning scroll. This is about really leaning into the habits that you want to build, that you know will take you forward to the life that you want to have and the person that you want to be. Because every great new habit you put in place will also make it easier to remove those that aren't helping you. Now, if you're feeling really courageous this week, why not DM me the habit that you are committing to, the one that you're going to take the first 2 minutes of steps towards. I would love to hear, and more than that, I would love to cheer you on. So come drop me a message on Instagram at shelleybosworth.official and let me know, what habit do you want to work on to make stick this week?